Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to QnA, the show where I take your questions from YouTube, Twitter, and everywhere in between and answer them here in video format. There's a lot to get to this week. I know it's a tough week for questions, right? Because the Browns are literally playing the same team that they played the previous week, and there's a bye week in between here. So I think we got to some interesting places with these questions. All right, so I'm just going to start with a question from the Livid Miracle, who says, what can the Browns do to fix their penalties, and why do you think they have so many compared to last year? Penalties can be the result of a lot of problems, right, or a lot of things. I think a lot of the penalties that the Browns run into tend to be procedural, right? They tend to be a false start or a holding or certain types of penalties along those lines, right? Illegal procedure, all those things. And I think one thing they can do to fix those penalties is, again, simplify these personnel packages, get down to your playoff rotation. Let's take some of these extra guys that you're trying to get spots off the field for a while, and let's simplify things when it comes to a personnel standpoint. That's one thing they can do to fix penalties. The other thing they can do to fix penalties is, one, execute better, but two, again, simplify how much you're asking a given player to do, right? Sometimes we're asking a guard to go all the way across the field, block like three people, and then also be the lead blocker. It's going to lead to some holding calls. So there's a lot in there. There's no one real concrete answer to be the solution for that. But, it's a combination of multiple things, in my opinion. The next question comes from Raymond Clark, who says, how do you feel about what's been going on with Rashard Higgins? Let's talk about Rashard Higgins. Now, this is something that's difficult because, one, I don't know what goes on in the locker room. I don't know what goes on at practice. But what I do know is that Rashard Higgins almost always, like clockwork, ends up in this situation almost every year with every single coaching staff he's been on. And I can't think that's an accident, right? Like it can't be a coincidence, and it can't be everybody else's fault. Like, if Rashard Higgins has had issues with 3 different coaching staffs, then the issue is Rashard Higgins at that point. I have to assume that is the issue until I am presented with evidence that would make me believe anything against that. Because, again, this has been 3 different coaching staffs, and this problem has continued to persist with Rashard Higgins, where whatever he does in between games makes the coaches upset. Like, this has happened far too often with this guy. So how I feel about it, I don't know, man. I'm kind of just over it with Rashard Higgins, right? I'm just over everything that has come with the Rashard Higgins train, which is, some good games, some bad games, and then like a mysterious benching. Like either he goes on the field and he plays or he doesn't. I'm not too invested in Rashard anymore, just because it seems like whatever he is doing in the middle of these game weeks is something that is clearly upsetting every coaching staff he's been on. And if that's the case, man, I don't know what we're going to be able to do with you if it's every coaching staff, right? Like, that's where I'm at with Rashard. I hope things can get better. I hope he'll turn things around. I hope he stop being in the doghouse, because I do think he has some potential there, especially with Baker Mayfield. But, he keeps coming into these situations, and I don't know why. But it's happened with enough people that I can't just say it ain't him. The next question comes from Wade, who says, Browns place Anthony Walker and Jamie Gillian on COVID list. Q, what can we expect from this? Well, they just signed Colquitt, right? So they're going to be all right there. One punter to another punter. It's not really a big of a deal. There's tons of NFL punters just laying around on the couch. So they got Colquitt from the Falcons practice squad. And then with Anthony Walker out, I'm kind of excited about that. Now, I might eat those words, right? Because he is the one main run-heavy linebacker this team has. Maybe you replace some of his snaps with Taki and get Taki on the field more because he's the other guy that can defend the run quite well. But if Anthony Walker's out, I feel like that's more opportunity for JOK to see the field. And I'm all for more JOK. So more responsibility for JOK. More snaps for JOK. I think that is ultimately a good thing. Also, that means more snaps for Malcolm Smith. I also think that's a good thing. I do understand that he is the green dot, and the last time the Browns did not have their green dot, Anthony Walker, things were a mess. So hopefully that doesn't happen and they've come up with better contingency plans than they've had in the past. But I'm not going to lie. I think the Browns linebackers and the guys who take less snaps than Anthony Walker are a lot more intriguing from a defensive standpoint than Anthony Walker. No disrespect to him. It's just, he's got some real good linebackers behind him. The next question comes from Commonly Uncommon, who says, what scenarios are there for the Browns to make the playoffs? It'll be a long shot, but we're not eliminated yet. I would say it's not even a long shot, right? Because if the Browns go either and win out, or they go 4-1 with the one loss being in like Green Bay, an NFC team, they'll probably make the playoffs, right? So it's not a long shot to me if it's still within your control, right? If you can just win these games, your playoff fate will probably be in your own hands, right? When it becomes a long shot is when you're like, all right, man, we need like 3 ties, 2 losses, and then we need to win, and then we need this team. Like when you start doing that, that's a long shot. But right now, I don't think it's a long shot. Now, what scenarios can the Browns make the playoffs? I mentioned a couple. If they win out, they'll make the playoffs. I'm pretty sure of it. If they go 4-1 and the one loss is to Green Bay, they have a pretty good shot to make the playoffs. Anything other than that, it gets tough. You have to rely on some teams winning and losing, but the way football works down the stretch is that teams lose a lot down the stretch. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Browns' playoff hopes. This next question comes from Jared, who says, should we be running more up-tempo offense, especially out the shotgun and pistol? Seems like Baker is a rhythm thrower who's great when he's hot. I think we should be doing more of this to get him in rhythm and playing more like he did in college. This is a good question, man. I don't know why the Browns don't run more up-tempo offense, but also when you look at, this team's lack of ability to line up and not get these procedural penalties, I kind of get it. But again, I think this is also coming down to they have too many personnel packages that they're trying to get in and off the field at a given time, that they don't just stick with one, right? They're always trying to get a guy on the field here for a certain look, or they're trying to sneak Anthony Schwartz on the field. And when you do that, you can't go up tempo, right? You can't just get to the line, hike the ball, and go. So I think that's a part of it. Some of these personnel packages. I think another part of them not running the high tempo offense is they just haven't executed well enough to trust them with a high-tempo offense. Now, sometimes a high-tempo offense can help you execute, but other times it can hinder you. And also, there are more consequences, right, when it comes to a high-tempo offense. One, how often can you run the ball out of high-tempo, right? If that's the Browns' strength, they're going to want to run the ball. How often can you run the ball out of high-tempo? Because that's going to tire people out much more than like a bunch of passing plays. So that's one thing, right? You can't really run the ball out of high tempo. That really isn't what the Browns do, is pass first. So that's one thing. The other thing is the effect that it has on the defense, right? If you go high tempo all the time, you're kind of leaving your defense out to dry. It's one of the things we learned when Chip Kelly was in the NFL, right? That like it worked for a couple of weeks here in the NFL, but eventually what became a problem was that he was tiring out his defenses and giving up too many points. So, again, high tempo comes at a cost. I think they should sprinkle in it every once in a while, or at least like once a game, more than they're doing now. But we'll see. We'll see what they do here. I think they're going to make some adjustments. I think high tempo probably might be one of them. The next question comes from Hav, who says, what are your expectations for the offense come Sunday? You talked about the fixes the team can make during the bye week, but do you think realistically you can expect anything to what's been put out there the last number of weeks? I cannot expect anything that has been, different than what they have done this entire season, right? Like at this point, and this is where I am with the Browns offense, I don't think they're to be trusted, right? Like, I just don't think they can be trusted. If they were a kid, you can't leave them at the house alone. So that's where I am with them. I think there is potential for them to get back on track. I'm going to be skeptical if they're actually back on track until I see it like 3, 4, 5 games in a row. But, you know, it can happen. I'm not going to throw that possibility out. But I do think that it's possible. But yeah, I'm not going to come out this bye week just because it's the bye week and expect some magic dust to be sprinkled on this offense and to get fixed. No, I'm going to expect this offense to be what this offense is, which is why, you know, this game against the Ravens becomes difficult because, again, you got to throw to win this game with them having no DBs. And, you know, that's one of the things we've struggled at. So, yeah, it's going to be one of those interesting areas for this team. And while I can see it changing for them, I would be real hesitant to go over the top and say that the Browns offense is going to just like be good for no good reason other than it was the bye week. But that's going to be it for this week's Q&A. Thank you guys for asking these questions. Please have a great day and have a good night.